with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday says agency monitors at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant reported the interruption in external power and said backup diesel generators were keeping nuclear safety and security equipment operational. Ukraine's state nuclear operator Energoatom says a Russian missile attack on a plant substation in a neighboring region was damaged, leading to the shutdown of a key communication line in the plant. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The Los Angeles City Council will try to reconvene today. Yesterday's meeting was nearly derailed when a raucous crowd of protesters packed the chamber, calling for the resignations of 3 council members, heard in a closed-door meeting during which racist language was used as members fought to protect Latino political strength in council districts. Some of the racist comments were about white council member Mike Ryan's young black son.
My husband and I are both raw and angry and heartbroken and sick for our family and for Los Angeles.
Officials say a now former San Antonio police officer has been charged with assault for shooting and gravely wounding a teenager eating a hamburger.
Are we ready to test the pastor out in terms of sound?
One moment.
Okay.
Just need like 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Had been stolen. President Biden's 3-state swing through the West ahead of the midterm elections begins today near Vail, Colorado, then California and Oregon. But the president remains broadly unpopular among Americans. This is AP News. A tragic accident in California. The AP's Lisa Dwyer has this.
A California tree trimmer is dead after a wood chipper accident. A tree trimmer was killed Tuesday in the San Francisco Bay Area after he fell into a wood chipper. Police say the man was working in the city of Menlo Park Tuesday afternoon when he fell. Officers arrived to find the man dead from injuries sustained after his fall. The state's Division of Occupational Safety and Health is investigating.
Okay, ready to go.
Okay,
let's 25 miles.
Pastor, hi, how are you?
Lisa Dwyer.
Need to hear your beautiful voice.
The chief economist for the International Monetary
I am well. What about you, Sandy?
I'm doing great.
It'll feel like a recession for many people around the world.
Thank you.
3 major
Praise
economies
God.
are stalling: the U.S., China, and Europe. Pierre-Olivier Gourinchas says the worst is yet to come. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where fact.
Can I get Reverend Vicki Johnson to talk a
Okay.
little bit more?
No, you speak to her. You should speak to her and have her.
All right.
Chicago traffic update.
Pastor Johnson, could he hear you, please?
Roads are
Yes.
traffic is getting
Sure. Good morning and God bless you. This is the day which the Lord has made, and we are rejoicing. We are exceedingly glad
Awesome.
in
Perfect.
it.
Okay, great.
On the inbound, Kennedy.
Okay, here we go.
Right now, in a couple of
Okay,
areas,
okay.
it's 20 minutes O'Hare to downtown, but outbound 27, slow going into the airport, and on westbound 190 approaching Manheim.
Thank you.
Inbound Eisenhower.
You were able to give me those couple extra minutes?
30 minutes, 390 downtown. Stevenson,
Okay.
31 minutes from the Veterans Memorial to Salvo Lakeshore Drive. Ryan is 20 minutes, 95th to downtown. 8094 has heavy traffic eastbound towards Burnham, and also from the state line to Klein. I'm to Talamonte.
You're the only voice of reason on the radio.
You give me hope.
Having listened to you every day.
Thank you for your clear insight.
Always felt a little bit smarter.
I listen to you every single day. I keep coming back to this station, and thank you for what you do.
On WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
WCPT 820 AM is proud to announce that we have been recognized as an LGBT business enterprise through the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce and our local LGBT Chamber of Commerce of Illinois.
To be certified.
All right, about 2 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
No easy feat. It's a serious declaration of not only our proud ownership, but also our commitment to a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace and business community.
We are the first and only radio station in the country with an LGBT BE certification, and of that, we are especially proud.
WCPT 820 AM is a mission-driven station promoting DEI, environmental stewardship, and democratic politics.
We do more than just talk. We educate, inform, and enlighten, because in this over-communicated world, facts really do matter.
Our hosts are committed to our mission, as are our passionate and loyal listeners. We proudly celebrate LGBTQIA+ issues and initiatives 52
And let me know
year,
as soon
not
as you
just
can
in
if you have
June.
Dr. Knighton, okay?
We'll do.
This is
1 minute, by the
Because
way.
I need that. Thank you. I need that for the rhythm of the show.
WCP.
Yes.
Moment in labor.
Second I have her, I'll text you right away.
Motors is facing
Thank you.
bankruptcy as a result of the Great Recession. Wanting to keep their jobs and help the company, the unionized auto workers accepted concessions to allow GM to recover. GM received a bailout and tax breaks, while the employees' pay rates stayed the same. Several factories were stated to close down, the raising price of healthcare premiums, and very few temp workers being moved to permanent positions, all leading to 48,000 United Auto Workers walking
30 seconds.
2019.
Thank
The
you.
workers got together, protesting outside the car dealerships with picket signs and giant inflatable rats. And after 6 weeks of protest and General Motors losing $2 billion, they were willing to negotiate. The United Auto Workers received a 3% pay raise, factories staying open with more being built, a set process for temp workers to remain to permanent workers, and their healthcare premium prices.
All right, about to go.
A
Okay, thank you.
WCPT moment in labor. We're working for your
I'm
rights.
going to have some noise in the background, so keep the music playing for just a little while longer, please.
We'll do.
Thank you.
Change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world. Change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's a joy to be with you today. Woo! We were up late last night at Rainbow Push. Thank you all for showing up and showing out as we, along with Greg Palast, who'll be with us a little bit later on today, saw his movie, Vigilante. Oh, my gosh. When I tell you that it is powerful, I understand why attorney C.K. Hoffler, who will also be with us for the legal Q&A with CK, I can see why she texted me in the middle of the movie. It is so powerful. You're going to find out things about Brian Kemp, the man to whom Stacey Abrams refused to concede because arguably, it's really inarguable. He, as Secretary of State, he kicked off the voters she had registered. He did that. And we're going to talk about the fact that his family brought slaves into Georgia, which was a free state. They were the first family to do that. You can't make this stuff up. And so just going through his history was really quite stunning. And we need to talk about that today as we look at voter suppression that is happening all over the country. And it's happening here in a very subtle way in Illinois. And it's also happening just to the north in Wisconsin. We're going to be talking with Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor. What's going on with the race with Mandela Barnes? You have some key progressives who are not getting the support, the push from the Democratic National Committee and from media, corporate media that they should be getting, right? I mean, these are people who are within a point or two of overtaking the Trump-backed candidate. And, Trump is public enemy number one, according to corporate media, except Fox. And that's not happening. I mean, you should be hearing Val Deming's voice, the name every day. Cherry Beasley out of North Carolina, you should be hearing her every day. Mandela Barnes, Charles Booker, Raphael Warnock, he should be all over the news, but you're not hearing that. So what's going on here? Got a lot to talk about in that second hour. And then look at the money-making machine that the Ukraine war is. I think we really need to drill down and understand that. But first, let me thank my morning stars and all of the people who came out and supported this film last night. It meant so much. I know the weather was crazy. I know that the traffic was bad, but you packed out the room. At Rainbow Push, we had some great food. Thank you, Chaparral, for the celebrations by us. We had a wonderful time. Thank you, Matt Cummings. I was with Matt from 6 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock last night. Had a wonderful time. He and my mother took us out to lunch. We had a lovely, lovely time. I want to thank the Rainbow Push crew, Bishop T. Lane Grant, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Alana Ford, Sandra McKinley, Mike, all these people. Deshaun, thank you so much for making it happen. Thank you, Mr. Diggs from the Cook County Clerk's Office, Karen Yarborough, who showed up last night, along with Bob Starks. They were part of the panel. He really helped us to work out a technical issue. Save the day. Thank you, Mr. Diggs. Sending you much, 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 much love today. So I want you to go, and of course, Rick Smith. what could I have done without him? He was at the heart of this event, the genesis of this event, and he decided to share the event with me at the behest of Greg Palast. He didn't have to do it. And so we want to thank him. We had a wonderful time, and he and Greg are headed to Minneapolis, St. Paul today. So everybody who's listening in Minneapolis, St. Paul, please go to am950radio.com. They're sponsoring that event. That is Rick's home station, and that is my home station. And so go to am950radio.com. We want you to pack it out because you really, really, really need to see this documentary. All right, everybody. So let's get to some of these headlines. And then for a Friday night, I hope that you'll join me over at Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church at 7 o'clock. Avery Sunshine, Pastor Reginald Sharp, Tamron Hall is coming in to host a birthday party for Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's going to be great. So it starts at 7 o'clock. Get on over to Fellowship on Friday at 7 p.m. In Chicago, we'll have a high of 66 degrees. It will be rainy. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my hair. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 57 degrees, scattered showers. Baseball, who's going to be the world champions? Who you got, or is it too early for you to tell? Well, I tell you what. The Astros topped the Mariners yesterday, 8-7. And the Yankees bested the Guardians 4-1. And the Dodgers 5-3 over the Padres. So it's on and cracking, everybody. It's on and cracking. President Joe Biden making so much news. In an exclusive interview with CNN, President Biden provided new insight on how he is dealing with Russian President Vladimir Putin, the investigation into his son Hunter, and whether he plans to run for re-election in 2024. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Do you think President Biden is going to run? Should he run again? Call me. 773-763-9278. Well, I want to get your thoughts too. I don't want to just hear the pundits on TV. I want to hear from the voters. 773-763-9278. I saw so many of you last night who said, well, I listened to the show, but I don't want to call. Call me. In regard to Russia's ongoing war with Ukraine, President Biden said he believes Putin is a rational actor. That was a very interesting turn of phrase, who nonetheless badly misjudged his ability to invade the country, which means he does not think that he is crazy at all. Separately, President Biden addressed possible criminal charges against his son Hunter for allegedly lying on a gun purchase application, but said he was proud of him for confronting his struggles with drug addiction. He was also asked what he'd say to voters who consider his age a concern ahead of the potential 2024 bid for re-election. As he's approaching his 80th birthday, his response is, quote, look what I've gotten done. Name me a president in recent history that's gotten as much done as I have. 773-763-9278. Amid ongoing nationwide protests against the Iranian government, the UK this week dealt a raft of sanctions against senior Iranian officials and the country's morality police following the death last month of Mahsa Amini, while in morality police citing human rights abuses. The UK announced all sanctioned individuals will have their assets held in the UK and will also be banned from traveling to the United Kingdom. The International Monetary Fund has once again downgraded its forecast for the global economy with a sharp warning, quote, the worst is yet to come. And for many people, 2023 will feel like a recession. Well, if it feels like a recession, won't it be one? 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. The Justice Department is urging the Supreme Court to reject former President Donald Trump's request that it intervene in the dispute over classified documents seized from his Mar-a-Lago residence. And 1 in 3 of the world's poorest countries spend more on debt repayments, to the IMF and all of these institutions that come to save them. Yeah, they spend more money on repaying them than they do on education. Yeah, you heard me say, Pastor Vicki Johnson, I'm so glad to be with you today. St. Thomas Lutheran Church, 80th and Jeffrey here in Chicago, 11:45 to 12:45. They've got an hour of power. You want to be there. You can be masked. You can be unmasked. It's come one, come all. Pastor Vicki Johnson. What's the good news?
Good morning. Good morning, Santita. And good morning to all of your morning stars and friends. There is good news. What is the difference between school and life? In school, we had classes. Math and science made us think critically, even when we didn't know that it was critical thinking. History has given us knowledge of what happened before we came onto the planet, and it also gave us information about where we have come from to give us clarity as we can progress to where we will be headed. English helped some of us to become bilingual in a sense, speaking in a manner that was different from how we spoke at home. Literature took us to places we had never been. And the arts, the arts sparked our imagination and awakened creativity in us. With all that we learned, we were given tests to make sure that we had really learned what we learned. Then we were able to pass to the next grade. In life, we face all types of issues: job losses, family disturbances, death, neighborhood violence, substance abuse, gangs, lack of health care, sickness, mental health issues, cash bail, voter apathy, and subpar schools. Issues that put us to a test. What is the difference between school and life? In school, we were taught a lesson and then given a test. But in life, we're given a test that teaches a lesson. Life will continually give us tests. The challenge is to always be open to learn the lesson so that we will not have to take the same test over and over again. If you will do this, and I believe that you will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen to that. Let me ask you this before you go. Well, first of all, I hope you're going to be at Fellowship on Friday night. We're going to have a great time as we celebrate. Can you believe Dad's going to be, it had just turned 81? Oh, gosh. I just
can't believe it.
But you were with him when he was in his 20s. Unbelievable. That having been said, but you were a child in the choir.
Yeah.
Brilliant soloist. My father used to drive her crazy, had her singing the same song every week. But my father loves a song. He loves a song. And when he loves a soloist, he loves a soloist. And before he would give his message, Pastor Vicki Johnson, then lovingly known as Vicki, he would have her walk to the mic, and at some point she was like, oh, here we go. But why do you think it is this way? You know, you get the lessons, and then you take the test. In the world, right? But in the spirit world, you get the test, and then you get the lesson. Why do you think that is? My brother Jonathan said that to me years ago. We were in college, and boy, I got whiplash. I went, whoa, what? He said, think about it. Because Jesse, Johnny, and I, we're a year apart, year. We're stair-step kids. And I must have been 20, and he must have been about 18. And it was so profound. And for you to say it again, I was just with him last night. And I want to thank him for coming too. What is that about, Pastor Johnson?
Well, I think that the way that we are taught in the school system, it sets up hypothetical situations, some things that we may never encounter in life. But the way that it happens in the spirit world is that it presents to us the things that we actually need to deal with in that moment in our lives to try to guide us in a way that we can be successful if we are open to learning the lesson from the tests that are presented to us.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. But that is how it works. You know, it's how it works in life. You get the test, then you learn the lesson. But boy, do you learn it. Well, one hopes. One hopes. One hopes. You are going to, of course, be at church at the St. Thomas Lutheran Church on 80th and Jeffrey. It's right on the corner, everybody. You can't miss it, from 11:45 to 12:45. And so just very quickly, how can you can be masked or unmasked? You are not discriminating, but you are putting people who are unmasked in a particular section.
We ask that you be considerate of each other and just put yourself in a place where you will feel comfortable, and so will everyone else around you. And we can be seen on Facebook, St. Thomas Lutheran Church, Chicago, 11:45 a.m. for the Hour of Power. And next month, we'll be celebrating our 58th year anniversary.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you more about it because on the second Sunday in November, we will be honoring Royal Mickey Warren with a service award.
Oh, and he is worthy of that. I mean, this is one of the greatest musicians ever, and he's been with all of us all of our lives. Please remind me of that because I will be there.
All right.
I will be there. He was our first musician at Operation Breadbasket.
Yes.
And,
Yes,
you know,
he
my
was.
father was the youth pastor at Fellowship. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Look, it was Mickey who told me. He said, no. He said, so when you look at me and others, we got up under Reverend because Reverend Evans put us under your father. He was the youth pastor. So Reverend Evans really entrusted him, and just he was father in the ministry, father for all of us, and we just love him. So I just want to send you much love today, sending you much love, Pastor. But continue to tell us. I mean, 58 years, wow! And I'm just so proud of you. I just must say, just having watched your ministry expand. So few women get pulpits. It's a real fight for us to get pulpits, but you've gotten it. And I look at all that you've done, and you have been a blessing to so many people, and I just thank God for you. Just want to hear you sing some more. I know I'm about to get that whip. I'm about to get that hit upside the head myself.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I got you.
You know, you got to do it too.
I got you.
Let's see, Santita.
I got you. Oh, I got you. Okay, well, I'm sending you much love today. Hope to see you at Fellowship on Friday night, everybody, at 7 p.m., 45th in Princeton. We're going to be celebrating Reverend Jackson's birthday. Tamron Hall and Pastor Reginald Sharp will be hosting. Avery Sunshine will be the special guest. Darius Brooks. It's going to be great. 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 I've got Dr. Who with us this morning. How you doing, Dr. Who?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fantastic. Great show. It's always good to get up early in the morning and be with you, Santita.
I love you. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. That is so sweet of you. That is so sweet of you. Make getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning worth that.
You are one beautiful talk show host.
Thank you.
And you brighten up my morning when I get up and listen to you. You bring us so much knowledge. And, you know, they say Jesus is never late. God is never late. He's always on time. That's how I see. That's what I see about you. You're always on time with your thoughts and the words you bring to our community.
Oh, bless your heart. Bless your heart. Well, I seek to serve you. So I hope that I'm doing. I hope that I'm doing that.
Should Joe Biden run again?
And not only should he, Doctor Who, but do you think that he will? So to answer both those questions for me in a couple minutes.
I'm the tax doctor.
Of course, I know, but I want to know from you that today. I mean, should he run? Do you think he's going to run?
I think he should run because you pointed out as what he said. And you know, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of presidents. And he done got more done in a short period of time than any other person. And then you got to look at what was in his way. A pandemic that wiped out over 1 million Americans in this country. He had an economy that was in the gutter. We lost millions of jobs. And under his leadership, look at us. We got the lowest rate of unemployment in the history of this country. But, Santita, the problem is the American people. Because if we don't get out and vote, and you're talking about 299 insurrectionists running for state, local, and national office, people who don't care about the democracy, shame on us if we let these people get in office. Because everything that the Democrats tried to do with their 50+1 will be wiped out. And we're looking at these red states. We're looking at Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Texas. Let me say this. If we got relatives who live in these red states, y'all better get out y'all butt and vote. And the Democratic Party should be campaigning in all these red states. Take the word to these folks. And to my white brothers and sisters that's in the Republican Party, don't sell this country out by voting for those people who don't care about us or the party or the country. Please.
Well, you know, Dr.
And I
Who,
want to bring it home, Santita.
Okay, bring it home. Because let me say this to you. I think that it's not just the Republicans, corporate Democrats, corporatists in both parties are selling us out. This is not, look, these folks don't believe in parties. Donald Trump was a Democrat. He was with the parole party, the reform party. He's been a Republican. And he's really not a Republican. He's overtaken the party, that apparatus, and they just have to follow behind him. That's why you got Mitch McConnell and all these other people, you know, all riled up. Because, you know, he overtook the party. He ought to let you know. Ain't no such thing as a party. There's something called power, Dr. Who. Dr. Who, it's all about power. You see that with Herschel Walker. They don't care. Morality? What? No. But wait a minute. At least you know his stuff. Trust and believe. Most of these jokers out here are Herschel Walker on steroids. But you got 1 minute, literally, before we go.
People in Illinois, I keep telling you, Amendment 1 is on our ballot, and you need to deal with this Amendment 1, Santita, because it is not what those commercials make it out to be. The only thing about Amendment 1 that the union truly like is it creates a right to work state. That's about it.
Okay.
But other than that, when you pull the layers back, it takes the authority away from the General Assembly to give us any type of meaningful labor policy. They lose all that authority.
Okay.
And plus, it's going to raise our property taxes. And that's why
I got to go.
November the 8th, you should have a show on this issue.
Okay, you know, I will. Because the fact is, right to work state is just bordering on slavery anyway. Love you, tax doctor. Everybody, let's talk about Ukraine, the money-making machine.
Thank you.
I love you, darling. Back in a minute.
Listen
Okay,
to the Tom
Henry.
Hartman radio program every weekday.
Just honey, just keep it real
here on
short there,
WCPT
okay?
820.
Okay.
Where facts
Just real
matter.
short. That's why I said, it should be
For
that.
years, the special interests
Will do.
everybody
Name,
wanted in Washington,
where they're
and
from.
Americans paid the price.
We want to
That
talk
all
about this.
changes
That's
right
all.
now because Congress just passed the Inflation Reduction Act, and President Biden signed it into law. Here's what that means for you. First, Medicare can now finally negotiate lower prices for prescription drugs. Drugs like insulin will cost a fraction of what they do today. The days of drug companies price gouging seniors are over. Second, it builds on the Affordable Care Act to lower healthcare premiums for 13 million Americans. And third, this bill includes the largest investment ever to take on climate change. Clean energy production will ramp up, dependence for fossil fuels will come way down, and new jobs will be created. The entire bill is paid for by making the biggest corporations and the ultra wealthy pay their fair share, saving Americans money today, saving the planet for future generations tomorrow. Learn more at whitehouse.gov. Paid for by House Majority Forward.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic and weather updates.
On Chicago's West Side, fire investigation continues at Madison and Costner. There is also a report of a partial building collapse. There's still a heavy fire presence in that area. Inbound Kennedy, traffic is heavy starting at Cumberland. It's now 40 minutes from O'Hare to downtown Chicago, 11 minutes from Montrose 8 to the Express, outbound 10 minutes to Montrose 31 to the airport. It's now 18 minutes Lake Hook to the junction. Inbound Eisenhower delay started Addison Road, 47 minutes, 390 to downtown, 31 from Poole. Stevenson, 49 wet minutes from the Veterans Memorial to Usaba Lakeshore Drive. The line is 22 minutes, 95 to downtown. That's traffic. I'm Jim Calamonte.
Here's the latest Chicago weather update. We'll see periods of showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy sky conditions and temperatures holding rather steady. Breezy southwest winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 35. And then for tonight, we'll have a slight chance for rain showers, decreasing cloud cover alone near 43. Thursday, slight chance for rain late, blend of clouds and sunshine develops high 53 degrees. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 62.
If you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home, securing a VA loan, or reverse mortgage, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Attention business owners, professional organizations, human resource, and or benefit managers looking to attract and retain workers and members. Team Hochberg's
We have about a minute. I'm getting a last caller right now.
your company or members
Oh,
of
do
your
we have-
organization
do we
save up
have
to
Dr. Gibbs and Bryce
$1,795 the
Greena?
next time they refinance.
Yes, 1 second.
Hochberg.
Okay.
Realtors within the Affinity program have agreed to discount their fee up to 1% when your employees or members sell their homes and issue up to 1% of their commission in the form of a closing cost credit when they purchase a home. If you would like more information how your company or professional organization can benefit from Team Hochberg's Affinity.
All right, cool. Just got both of them. And Chaparral.
Okay, please bring them up, please,
560
so I can say hello.
855-563-2843 or visit
Dr.
560.com.
Gibbs?
This Affinity program will save your company and organization
Hi.
members thousands of
Bryce?
dollars, so please give me a call. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 112.
I can't hear them.
When you're high, you feel different.
30 seconds.
Dr. Gibbs?
Talk different, you draw different, you listen to music
Okay, you need to
different.
bring that down so I can hear them, okay?
Problem is, you also
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, we're going to be on in like 20 seconds.
Okay, very good.
Good morning.
Good morning, you guys. Hey, hey, hey. Chaparral?
Yes, I'm here, Santita.
Fantastic. You're up and about. Whew, we were out late.
Yes.
All right, coming back.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. I had such a great time last night with all of you. I want to thank so many of you for coming out. Boy, you gave us just even in the rain and with crazy traffic, you all were out in full force last night and you gave Greg Palast the support that he deserves. And thank you on behalf of Rick Smith, My brother here at WCPT at AM 950 Radio, he is on from 8 to 10 every night. Great union man, really great movement man. Want to thank him for co-hosting this event with me. Want to thank Cook County Clerk Karen Yarbrough for coming on through and participating in the panel. Of course, the brilliant Dr. Bob Starks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody, the Morning Stars, all of y'all who were up in the house, had a great time. Saw people who were looking for Chaparral's oxtails, Miss Celebration by us, but we did love the food that you had. Thank you, Chaparral. How you doing? I hope you had a good time last night, but you and your beautiful daughters were working. And you're about to become a grandma again.
Yes. Kayla is on baby number 2. His name is going to be Josiah, so we'll have Justice and Josiah.
Beautiful. They're beautiful, beautiful. They're beautiful reflection of you and your husband. They're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful young women and women of accomplishment and women who are to be admired, and it speaks so well of you and your husband that you have such a beautiful family.
So much.
God bless you. Well, celebrations by us, and I'm so glad you were there last night.
Yes, it was truly our pleasure to provide the snacks and sandwiches for the event, and it was just such a great pleasure seeing all of the Morning Stars who came out. You know, you're actually putting faces to all the Facebook comments, and so we really had a good time, and we enjoyed seeing everyone. We saw Joyce Anderson, we saw Tanya, we saw Mark and Lorraine, Maddie,
Snake
Nina,
Hips.
of course, L. Stanley, everybody was there, and we had a great time. So we're hoping to get together before the end of the year, Santita, and do a morning show event so that way we can all get together and just have some fellowship. Because what we notice is that we have not only become Facebook friends, but we're also a Facebook family because of your show. But don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546, and we handle all of your custom decor as well as also food. So don't hesitate to call us if you should need any services for the holiday season that is fast approaching. And so we're asking everyone to give us a call and let us know about your needs. Thank you so much, Santita. It was a joy and a pleasure to serve you.
Oh, thank you so much. And we are going to do something in the Christmas season. And we're going to, and because Erin Connolly was there last night too. She snuck in. She's now the president of her library association where she lives. So this is really exciting. But we're going to do something, and we want everybody to come. But what we'll have to do is get numbers on you, okay? But we want everybody to come. We want to be with everybody because we saw people last night who just tune in every day, and they, just people who we don't see as morning stars, but they are. And so I just want to thank you for being with me from my first station. I've been with you since I've been on the air, and I just love you, Chaparral, and I thank you so much for everything. God bless you.
Love you more.
Oh, impossible. There we go, everybody. Let's talk about Ukraine. Boy, oh boy, it seems that things are being ratcheted up there. What do you think is going on? I'm hearing more and more people talk about an off-ramp. Is there an off-ramp? Is there a route to peace? We're not hearing about it. And it's costing you already $200 per American. Can you afford that? You cannot afford a $400 visit to the emergency room. Of course not. What are the objectives here? What are we doing over there? And what about who is making money off of it? Because now somebody's making money, and there are a whole lot of arms manufacturers who are making money. War pulled us out of the Depression. The United States during the Second World War, it propelled us into becoming this superpower. War makes business, but shouldn't peace? Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. What's really going on here? Dr. David Gibbs, professor of history, University of Arizona, and, of course, Bryce Green, fairness and accuracy in reporting. Let me start with you, Dr. Gibbs. A lot of people make a lot of money off of this war. Ooh, Dr. Gibbs.
Well, let me start with the issue of the off-ramp. I note there have been some calls for negotiation. I think the most notable one so far has been Mike Mullen, a retired admiral and former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has been calling for a negotiated settlement, or at least exploring the possibility of one. I found that to be an encouraging sign. It indicates that within the core of the establishment, this is being at least somewhat discussed. On the whole, though, we're seeing at the highest level so far is formal rejection of any off-ramp. There was an article just yesterday, I believe, in the Washington Post that American officials, are not going to put any pressure on Ukraine to negotiate. And in the past, we've clearly seen there was pressure on them not to negotiate, and that hasn't changed. Ironically, the Washington Post noted that American officials don't think Ukraine can score a really decisive defeat of Russia, which is what they're claiming to do, which raises the question of why prolong the war if that's the case. I think what the United States is doing, I'll get to the issue of money in a moment, but there is the issue that just before this war began, America itself sustained a massive defeat in Afghanistan. It was the very humiliating departure from Kabul that was reminiscent of the departure from Saigon in 1975. And, America's defeat, it really was a defeat in Afghanistan, was a huge blow to American prestige and the prestige of the people making the decisions, including the President, Joseph Biden. And I think part of what is going on here is to try and make up for America's defeat in Afghanistan by trying to score a blow against Russia, to show that America still has the potency and capability to do that despite its defeat in Kabul. So I think that's part of the context here. I think that's mostly in the past gone unrecognized, and that should be noted. But there's no doubt that a lot of money is indeed being made. And I read Barron's from time to time, the Barron's Financial Weekly, and they're talking about, military stocks are the place to invest right now because, there's every indication that, the rate of return in the military sector is going to be very high. And, there's going to be a massive buildup militarily, not just in the U.S., but worldwide as a result of this war. Germany, even as they're experiencing what looks like a very nasty downturn in their economy, is nevertheless undertaking a massive military buildup, unprecedented since 1945. Other countries are doing the same thing. So what we're seeing here is the military itself is becoming a growth sector with enormous benefits to people who invest in it. And the people making the decisions have close connections to the military sector and to military lobby groups. And so, yes, the issue of financial interest is not to be disregarded in this case.
What about the off-ramp? What about all of the money that is being made from this? First, what about peace, Rice Green? And I really want you to compare and contrast your aspirations, your investigations with what corporate media are telling us. I mean, how is this being, let's start with how corporate media are reporting this and how it contradicts the truth.
Well, Dr. Gibbs was right when he said that part of the motivation for this war is, getting America back on its feet. America is back after the, kind of embarrassing withdrawal and defeat in Afghanistan. In fact, if you looked at the corporate press in the months after the withdrawal from Afghanistan and in the months before the Ukraine invasion or the Russian invasion of Ukraine, you saw that line touted all the time, that the way to reestablish American credibility after the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan is to support Ukraine in this war. And corporate media, they talked about that for a little bit, but after the war started, it immediately became about, preserving a rules-based international order, and that we couldn't stand any thought of Russian aggression in Ukraine. If we did, then we'd be, they compared to this, we'd be appeasing Hitler. And that's really what you've seen from the corporate media. No one in the media actually investigates what U.S. grand strategy is and has been over the last 70 years. And that is an important starting point for understanding how this operates. So not only is this being driven by the military-industrial complex and their profits, but it's also being driven by geostrategic interests of empire. At the end of World War II, the United States, part of their military planners and part of their political planners, they recognize that if Europe and Russia were to, combine economically, well, then they'd be a major threat to U.S. interests. And so part of U.S. strategy, part of the Marshall Plan strategy, was to keep Germany out of the Russian orbit. And so that Germany would be closer integrated with the United States. And if you fast forward years and years and years, this has been a major policy. If you look at what they were arguing about, what U.S. and Germany were arguing about right before this war, it was about a pipeline. It was about a Russian-German pipeline, the Nord Stream 2. The U.S. considers any further integration with Germany, between Germany and Russia, to be a threat to its strategic interests. And so part of the reason that the U.S. has been so gung-ho about pushing for this war is that, and they've been explicit about this, Lloyd Austin said that the goal is to weaken Russia so that they can never do anything like this again. Well, what does that mean? That means turning Russia into no longer a great power. Now, that goal is lofty. Russia obviously has nuclear weapons, a very deeply entrenched state, and a political system that's not very open. And so corporate media repeat this line. You have people always talking about how, Putin's got to go. We hope we can regime change Putin, and then he'll be replaced by a moderate. That's our only way out of this. But of course, what they miss is how unlikely that is, and that in the unlikely event that Putin is overthrown, then we'll likely get a hardliner, a nationalist who has a more anti-U.S. stance than Vladimir Putin. And so all of these distortions combine together to give American media consumers a very false sense of how the war is and why the war is being fought. A lot of the media falls for these simple narratives of, hero Zelensky and evil Putin and good guy Joe Biden helping out hero Zelensky. But these Marvel movie narratives are very dangerous to anyone who actually is trying to understand U.S. policy, understand Russian policy, and understand the contours of this conflict. And media needs to do better.
What are we not understanding? First you, Bryce, and then you, Dr. Gibbs. I mean, what are we not getting?
People don't get that this is not a war about freedom and democracy. This is a war about, this is a proxy war that was provoked by the United States in order to weaken a political rival. There was a study done by the Pentagon in 2019, and it actually recommended pouring weapons into Ukraine in order to increase Russian involvement in Ukraine, even though it acknowledged that these actions could provoke a Russian invasion. This was known at the time, and yet that's the strategy we pursued. Incidentally, this same document also recommends ending the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, because if that pipeline ends, then U.S. Natural gas, could replace the Russian gas. And so it's always been about subverting Russia, trying to get Russia's influence out of Europe, and to increase the American economic stranglehold on Germany, on France, on the whole of Western Europe. But this isn't well understood. And instead, we get those simple narratives about democracy. But, we have to look past that.
Dr. Gibbs. I mean, indeed, because I'm always trying to figure out why it is that that Russia is the big demon for us, particularly when you look at how we dealt with Russia during the Second World War. I mean, what happened?
I think part of what you had is, well, in the first place, let me say that, yes, I certainly concur with Bryce that the U.S. provocation of this, not only recently, but over decades, has been very pronounced. There's a large stash of documents available online at George Washington University through the National Security Archive. And I think pertaining to the issue of NATO expansion, and anybody who looks at those documents, there's no question that NATO expansion was the provocation that brought about this war. Had it not been NATO expansion, we'd not be talking about a war right now. And that was, NATO expansion was undertaken by the United States in disregard for global security. That's really at the root of this. I think that's what's missing in the discussion here is that this could have all have been avoided. I think part of it is that after the Cold War was over, the United States had this large military-industrial complex with a lot of vested interests. It had hundreds of overseas bases. And there was no justification for it. The whole justification was to fight the Soviet Union, which didn't exist anymore. And nevertheless, because of vested interest and because of just inertia and maybe intellectual laziness associated with that, the American foreign policy establishment and could not imagine a world without American hegemony, and the interest associated with that pushing for a revival of U.S. hegemony, and that requires an enemy. And I think the U.S. has been searching for enemies, more or less openly, really, since 1991. And, an enemy is necessary if you want to justify hundreds of overseas bases and a military budget far larger than any other country, which is what's happening here. And so I think part of this is an extended result of America's 30-year search for an enemy. I mean, if you're looking for an enemy, eventually you'll find one. That's a given. But I think really, Chalmers Johnson was a political scientist who I knew, a very prominent one who'd been associated with the right. He'd been a long-time supporter of the Vietnam War. He was a consultant to the CIA. After the Cold War was over, he changed his mind and said that all the security threats America faces, he said this in the 90s, are the result of an overexpansion by America. America's generating all of its security threats. It's a insecurity generating machine. And I think that's what we're seeing here, that America's need for expansion and power has really caused this war. And we're all going to be living with the results of it, possibly for a very long time. I know another option that cannot be cannot be overstated is the danger of nuclear war and to be the ending of human civilization. That's another very real possibility here.
Well, I just got this message from Kota. Watch out now. Here comes Bryce Green covering for Putin again. Are you covering for Putin?
In the media climate, anything that suggests that Putin isn't Hitler, anything suggests that, there might be a world in which we aren't hostile to Putin, anything that suggests that America might be at fault here is considered, pro-Putin. And I mean, that's just not serious. That's just not serious thought. You can understand the faults that America has, and you can criticize America without being pro-Putin. I mean, is there anything I've said that's been incorrect? Is there anything I've said that's been false? No. The only reason that you probably think that I'm pro-Putin is because I criticize the United States. And apparently that's too far out of the bounds for some people. But no, I'm not pro-Putin. I actually condemn the invasion. I'm not a fan of, illegal invasions and mass murder, which, I mean, if we're being real, that's what's going on here. But we have to be clear-eyed about the chronology of events that led us here. We have to be clear-eyed and serious about how the U.S. deliberately provoked this. And I mean, that's been clear for years now, that the U.S. was pushing towards conflict with Russia by expanding NATO, by pouring weapons into Ukraine over the objections of Russia. I mean, there's no need to hurl insults. There's no need to name call. I mean,
There's no need for it. It's unnecessary. I mean, Chris Lundholm says this was a war of choice by Russia. This ain't right here. I don't know how many wars of choice that Americans know that we've overthrown so many governments. I mean, tragically, Dr. Gibbs, that is what we have turned into, that which we fought when we fought our revolution. We fought an empire. And the founding fathers said, you know what? They tried to put some brakes in. I mean, even George Washington said a two-party system. No, that's going to result in tyranny. Don't do that. And by the way, I don't want to be a king. Do not do that to me. We're going to be a republic. We're going to do something new. Dr. Gibbs, you're the history professor. I mean, what's going on here?
I think There's no doubt there was to some extent a war of choice by Russia, and that the United States was clearly attempting to humiliate Russia. And Russia should have, frankly, accepted the humiliation and accepted the fact that the U.S. was somewhat going to weaken its security. But it did not justify an invasion. The level of insecurity faced by Russia certainly did not meet the level of justifying an act of war, which they took, and they did not have to take. And they rightly have been condemned for that. But I think the question, but I'm not a Russian citizen, I'm an American citizen. As an American citizen, I have to ask, what was the wisdom of the United States deliberately trying to humiliate Russia? I just don't see the point of that. That was a reckless act that what could have been predicted would result in war and did result in war. And so, yes, the U.S. bears a lot of responsibility for what has happened here, not just recently, but over a long period of time. The fact that the United States had made a promise not to expand NATO and then expanded it, violating its promise not to. There's been an effort in official circles to deny this happened or to downplay it. And again, the record on this is very clear. The U.S. agreed not to expand NATO and violated its promise not to do so. That is why we're talking about war now. That is the reason there's a war in Ukraine. That is the reason the world is worried about nuclear war, because of the violation of America's agreement with Russia not to expand NATO.
Well, I've got about 3 minutes left. Well, actually about a couple of minutes. A minute apiece. What's a path forward, Bryce Green? What should happen so that we can avoid nuclear war, so that we can achieve peace? Certainly that is my goal.
Right. One of the positive developments I've seen over the last week or two, ever since the pipeline explosion, the bridge explosion, has been more people, official, high-level people, ex-diplomats, ex-intelligence officers coming on TV and talking about an off-ramp. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like most likely a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine that involves a Russian annexation of Crimea being formalized. It involves probably a referendum in the Eastern territories that Russia has already claimed to annex, overseen by the UN. And it also ends in a neutrality pledge for Ukraine. This is really the only situation I see that might be amenable to both sides. The Eastern territories, they haven't been part of Ukraine for 8 years. Neither has Crimea. And there's really no good strategic reason to expand NATO to Ukraine. They don't need, there's no reason to put military bases and American soldiers and American missiles that close to Moscow. That's just not a safe situation. So an off-ramp will look like that. But the first thing that needs to happen is a meeting between President Biden and President Putin, or at least a phone call. In fact, Sergei Lavrov was already offering, this is the Russian foreign minister, was already offering to meet with the Americans. The Americans have repeatedly rejected it. They've said, no, we don't want to meet. And Zelensky has also said that he doesn't want to meet with Russia until Putin is deposed. This is madness, and that's not an off-ramp. But hopefully the public pressure will mount to push Zelensky and push Biden in the right direction.
The final minute belongs to you, Dr. Gibbs.
I agree with everything Bryce just said. I would add that the most important thing, I think, is for Biden to meet directly with Putin, either in person, preferably, or on the phone, just because this is no longer, and there's never been really a war between Russia and Ukraine. It really is a war between Russia and the United States. And it's the United States, really, more than Ukraine, that is calling the shots. And so really, it would be necessary to get the United States on board with some kind of a peace deal to settle this thing, and to give up on the idea of decisive victory, because that is the road to nuclear war, seeking decisive victory. And so some kind of along the lines that was just noted by Bryce, I think, is the way out here.
Everybody, all we are saying is give peace a chance. And I think you can be just pro everybody in the world. I'm not anti anybody. Spiritually, I think that's unhealthy. I think that we need to pull for everybody and pull everybody up. We all ought to enjoy God's bounty, and we need to have peace everywhere. Dr. David Gibbs, University of Arizona, and Bryce Green of Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. Sending you all much love. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Dr. Gibbs, thank you all. And Bryce Green, thank you so much. Thank you. I think, you all just offer so much sanity. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, I just wish we could get past it. Well, no, I appreciate it. I wish, and a lot of this trolling is coming from, intelligence, and I get it, but they're hurting people. No one is going to win in a nuclear contest. Nobody, everybody. We will all lose. Nobody's going to win. So unless you're part of the crew who thinks that there are too many people on Earth, like Prince William, who said the human to animal ratio is off, so there are just too many people having babies. What? Who does that? I mean, you sound crazy. You sound like a bunch of eugenicists. I mean, it's crazy, and it needs to stop. We've got to, if you want, I mean, really, and I am pro-life, and that means I believe there's a floor beneath which no human being should fall, and just keep on going with that. My pastor, Reverend Evans, may he rest in peace, said, I've never seen God make a mouth he couldn't feed. And let's just grow up, everybody, in our politics and let everyone enjoy the bounty of the world. Some people are going to have more, but everybody should have what they need. And you don't need war. How about that? Whew. Sending you and your son much love, your family much love, Dr. Gibbs, and Bryce Green, sending you much love. I'm going to let you go so we can get some of these phone lines. We have so few, unfortunately. Sending you much love today. But you'll hear from me again. Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Everybody, it was so wonderful seeing you all last night. I mean, really. It was just wonderful, wonderful being with you last night. Really, really. And I'm looking forward to doing something over the holidays. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of fun. We did have a full house last night. Yep, we did. We did. And we had a great time. Got some good little food. Woo-hoo. Okay, who do we have up? Okay, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying to look through some things right here. Okay.
Hi, Miss Jackson. I just got everyone called up.
Okay, who do we have?
Specifically, I have CK, Greg Palast, Rick Smith, State Senator Wayna Taylor, Darrell Jones, and Robert Patillo.
Fantastic. All right. CK?
1 second, let me put them all through.
Okay, thank you. CK?
CK?
We have a full house this morning. We got Greg Palast up. He was out late last night. He and Rick Smith. Rick said, "Well, Rick, did you get to bed? Did you go to sleep last night, Rick?"
An hour ago.
Oh, gosh. Now, when are you going to head up to Minneapolis? Rick, are you driving or are you going to fly? You're going to drive?
We're in Minneapolis.
You flew, you drove last night?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No record.
Yeah, well, we needed him. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, Robert Patillo, Daryl Jones, you all missed it last night. CK, but you know what? After seeing the film, I understand why CK texted me in the middle of it. I get it. I get it. Trust him. I get it. I get it.
60 seconds.
Thank you. I started watching it and I said, okay, I want to keep an element of surprise. But you know what I got, because I always know someone's gonna beat him up. And Greg, thank you for that wonderful text. I just saw it. Oh, you're so sweet.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
You're so sweet, but I would love to talk with you because I certainly would love to get into LA.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, now that I'm there, I've thought, now I'm kind of, moving around. I can figure out that we got to get to the LA market. It's really important.
Are you there in LA? Are you really live in Los Angeles now?
Yeah. I really there in Hollywood Hills. Exactly.
Not that I don't love LA. I do. Some of my best friends live out there.
The worst barrio in Los Angeles.
We're about to come back.
Absolute poorest area.
Well, stand by. I've got to ask you about what happened with the city council because a couple of my friends are in that mess.
We can change
Stay right there.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk about voter suppression. Let's talk about the midterms. We are now in the early voting season of the midterms. We're here. We're here. Are you able to vote? Have you been stopped as you've tried to vote? Do you know just how pervasive and how widespread the voter suppression in the United States of America is today? We witnessed something that you've got to see. Vigilante, the latest documentary by Greg Palast. We were all together last night, my brother here at WCPT and AM 950 Radio. Rick Smith, thank you so much for allowing me to co-host this event with you. Greg Palast, thank you for pulling us into all of this. We had a wonderful time. We hope that you did too. It was so wonderful to see, a packed house with a rainbow of people. In fact, one of our guests, one of the family last night said, you know what? This is the way America's supposed to be. People of all backgrounds, all colors, eating popcorn, watching something and trying to work America out. And that's what we were doing last night. So we're going to, of course, legal Q&A with CK. You're going to get things kicked off as soon as I get on the other side of these headlines. All right, CK Hoffler and attorney Daryl Jones and attorney Robert Patillo. We've got a lot to talk about this morning. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 66 degrees. It is already gray and rainy. In Minneapolis, St. Paul, up there for you, Greg Palast and Rick Smith and AM 950 Radio. 57 degrees, scattered showers, rainy in this part of the country. The Mariners 7, the Astros 8. Who's going to pull it out? Who's going to win the World Series this year? Yankees 4, the Guardians 1, and the Dodgers 5, and the Padres 3, everybody. I love this time of year when we're playing everything. In an exclusive interview Tuesday, President Joe Biden provided new insight on how he's dealing with Russian President Vladimir Putin, the investigation into his son Hunter, and whether he plans to run for re-election in 2024. In regard to Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine, Biden said he believes Putin is a, quote, rational actor, close quote, who nonetheless badly misjudged his ability to invade the country. He also said he doesn't believe Putin would risk using a nuclear weapon. Separately, he addressed possible criminal charges against his son for allegedly lying on a gun purchase application, but said he was proud of his son for confronting his struggles with drug addiction. President Biden was also asked what he'd say to voters who consider his age a concern for a presidential run in 2024. He said, quote, "Look what I've done. Look what I've gotten done. Name me a president in recent history that's gotten as much done as I have." Amid ongoing nationwide protests, according to the CNN report, against a regime accused of corruption, the UN this week dealt a raft of sanctions against senior Iranian officials and the country's so-called morality police following the death last month of Masa Amini while in morality police custody. Citing human rights abuses, the UK announced that it will ban all travel to the UK. Iran's foreign ministry strongly condemned the sanctions, calling them arbitrary and baseless, and they're also holding on to their money in the UK. The Justice Department is urging the Supreme Court to reject former President Donald Trump's request that it intervene in the dispute over classified documents seized from Mar-a-Lago. And 1 in 3 of the world's poorest countries, 1 in 3, spend more on debt repayments than education. Thank you, IMF, and all of those wonderful places that come to help you that end up keeping you in debt and in bondage forever. And those are some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Speaking of breaking out of bondage, we are really helping you to find financial freedom, and you need to partner up with Team Hochberg. Team Hochberg, everybody. If you've had faced bankruptcy, if you're using that debit card and you need a credit card, but you say, I don't have the right credit, you need a plan because you can get a credit card. If you have too much credit card debt, you need someone to negotiate for you with the credit card company so that you can get out of that debt. Don't you try to do that yourself. If you faced bankruptcy or if you're thinking about it, you need to know what financial products are available to you to help you to get on your feet if you want to buy a home. If you don't think that your credit's good enough to get a home, well, you need a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. All of these things, if you want loans, all of that, you need an advocate. And Team Hochberg, well, that's the team for you. 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or 56david.com, 56david.com. Let me tell you what you do. Whatever you're going through, call them. You're going to get a free consultation. Just tell them everything. They've heard it all, so there's no need in trying to hide anything. Don't do it because most Americans are struggling. Most people in the world are struggling. You're not new, but what can be different for you is you getting someone who's going to be your advocate, and that is what Team Hochberg will be. They did it for Manny, who was making $70,000 a year, but he had $20,000 in credit card debt. And so he didn't have a down payment for a home that he really, really wanted to buy. So he called Team Hochberg. They created a plan for him after they did a background check, not the background check like a security check, but, to make sure, to see where his credit was and all of that. And then they worked out a deal with the credit card companies, and he was able to pay down his debt, pay it off, actually. And then he saved for a down payment for his home. He's a homeowner. That could be you. That could be you. That could be you. So call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com so that you can be on the road to financial freedom. Everybody, CK, Legal Q&A with CK, we've got, I understand now why you texted me in the middle of that movie. You said, girl, this is so powerful. And me, whew. And all the things that we found out about Brian Kemp, unbelievable. And just hearing these individual stories about voter suppression and knowing that they have national applications, it's not just happening in Georgia, CK. So with you today, of course, we have got Greg Palast, the filmmaker. We're so glad that he is with us. We've got Attorney Robert Patillo, Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push. We've got Attorney Daryl Jones from the Transformative Justice Coalition, and my brother beloved, the great Teamster, my working class hero, Rick Smith. They're up in Minneapolis, St. Paul today with AM 950 Radio, everybody. Go to am950radio.com. Before I get to you, CK, Rick, where are you all going to be tonight? Because I'm directing people to am50radio.com so they can get information on the screening tonight.
We're going to be at the Crooners Supper Club, Supper Lounge, with the good folks from AM 950. Going to show the movie. Greg's going to be there. I'm going to be there. We're going to do the whole meet and greet thing. We're going to show the movie. We're going to have some Q&A. We're going to get to meet folks. It's going to be a fabulous evening.
Now, why should people come out and see this movie, Rick? And why? Because it's got you on the road. I mean, you are on the road trying to get people out to see this movie. And you were so passionate in your presentation of the screening of this film last night.
Well, I mean, voting is something we should be passionate about. It's how we exercise our voice in this wonderful experiment of self-governance. And if we can't all have access to that ballot box, if we can't all exercise the franchise, then it's false, and it can be taken away from any of us. So for me, it's one of these things that I believe in passionately. I think I wish more people did, and I wish we could not have to have movie events like this, and everyone had the ability to freely vote and cast their ballot, but we're not at that place yet, and we're striving to be that more perfect union.
Attorney C.K. Hoffler, before you bring on Greg Palast and the rest of the panel, wow. It really was great, C.K. It really was a great documentary.
I was so moved. I was so moved, Santita. That's why I texted you. I texted anyone. I was going to my text was sent that Greg was going to allow us to do other screenings. Send us the link, and I wanted people to hear and to understand. But it's not just about Georgia, but it is so much. It does reflect certain realities in Georgia that are critically important to the upcoming gubernatorial and Senate races and other races that we're facing in Georgia. But the issues that Greg and his team raised in this movie pertain to what's happening in the United States of America. Everyone should be concerned. Everyone should watch it. We all need a refresher course on voting rights, on what it means, on where we've come from, and how our rights have been stricken, how our rights can be stricken, how our rights are being challenged at the ballot as we speak. We all need to hear that and see that, because you don't really think that this is happening. You hear it's happening. You know there are voter suppressive laws. You hear these groups that are jumping up and down saying our right to vote is being threatened. But until you see the actual examples of voter suppression, it really can be just an academic exercise that's not real. And so this movie makes it real. It makes it real. And I would dare say every U.S. citizen, it doesn't matter your political persuasion, needs to see this.
Well, CK, we have got, Greg Palast. This is the former president of the National Bar Association and the chair of Rainbow Push. And of course, Reverend Jackson wishes that he could have been there last night. He wanted to be. But, with Parkinson's, it was a little late for him. And so we're just going to show him. He said, but I want to see this. I want to see it. No, and of course, he wanted to see you. I told him that you were leaving town. And so I've got to connect you all today.
Well, I will be back, and we'll get together. Absolutely. Well, thank you. One point I want to make. This is a film, by the way. This is Greg Palast. I made the film, and it's called Vigilante: Georgia Vote Suppression Hitman. And tonight, Rick Smith, your fave, Rick Smith, and I will be in Minneapolis at the Crooners Supper Club. That's on Highway 65 Northeast in Minneapolis. If you want more information, go to, what is it?
AM950radio.com.
AM950radio.com. If you're confused by this, go to gregpalast.com.
Okay.
We have all the place info. We want people to register. I want to tell you, it's getting pretty packed out already. So please do register at the Supper Club. The film itself, by the way, there's not going to be any charge. Obviously, you're going to eat their food, which I recommend. They're going to give you the tab for that, which is good. We'll have a really good evening. Me and Rick will answer questions. But the big thing, I want to make the point, I know it's an important film. I agree with CK. Thank you so much for saying everyone should see this, every American. But I want to remind people, it is a popcorn chewing movie. It's entertainment. And I'm telling you something horrifying, something very funny. There's mixtures of tears and laughter in here. But the key thing, it is a movie. You're not going there to get an inoculation. it is still something where you can say, I like that movie. Because I think it's important, just like my friend Michael Moore, we learn a lot from each other on how to make it so that you make the point, but also make people feel like, hey, I just had a good evening with good people, and especially with the discussion. This Greg Palace with Rick Smith will be there. We'll answer your questions. I'll have my other films, which you can get a copy of. So be at the Supper Club tonight. It's at 6:30 p.m. So make sure you get there early, and it'll be a great feeling because it's all packed up and it's almost sold out already. So please sign up right now, or if there's any trouble, go to gregpalace.com. Crooner's Supper Club, 6:30. And yeah, it's so Vigilante, just so people know what it's about. In Georgia, where we have Stacey Abrams in a runoff rematch with Brian Kemp, the so-called governor of Georgia. I say so-called because when I investigated in 2018, I found that election was, again, shoplifted from the voters. I'm not saying it was stolen from Stacey Abrams. I'm saying it was taken from the voters. They're the victims. And who were not allowed to vote. 500,000 people were removed from the voter roll. That's how they did it last time. This time they're using a new gimmick in which any individual citizen can challenge an unlimited number of other citizens. We have one woman on camera who throws me out. She's got a loaded shotgun next to the door, ammo all over the place. So I don't argue with her. She throws me out because she had personally challenged the right to vote of 32,000 voters. 32,000 in one single county, Cobb County, a suburb of Atlanta. She throws me out. She's a big Trump operative, and she was running for vice chair of the Republican Party in Georgia. There are 88 vigilantes. One you will meet who challenged 4,000 voters. And he really runs around. He thinks he's a vigilante. He actually runs around with a pearl-handled 6-gun and a cowboy hat, and he thinks he's a vigilante. The problem is that he didn't just challenge 4,000 voters. You'll meet the voters he challenged, including Major Gamaliel Turner, career military specialist, America's specialist on Warfare of the Future. And by the way, one thing he asked me to take out of this film, I have to say, in his home, he's just reinvented a anti-tank weapon for the use by Ukrainians. He's helping the Ukrainians with the U.S. military, Major Turner. And he had the anti-tank weapon in his kitchen. Talk about working remotely. And he said, I don't think you should show the weapon in the film. I don't think the Army is going to be crazy enough to take anti-tank weapons home to work on them. But they challenged this man's right to vote. He was sent to California by the commander-in-chief, the president, to go work, help the Ukrainians. So Major Turner was denied his right to vote with thousands of soldiers, African-American soldiers from Fort Benning, Georgia. This is sick stuff, but you get to meet the vigilante with his 6-gun, and the major confronts the vigilante. It's moving, it's frightening, and here's the thing, like you said, at the beginning of the film, which is, by the way, narrated by Rosario Dawson, wonderful narration by Rosario Dawson. It's introduced by our producer, Martin Sheen, my favorite president after Franklin Roosevelt. And Martin says, warned you, this ain't just Georgia. It's coming to a state near you. Bloomberg News reported that this new vigilante vote challenge game has now spread from Georgia to 9 other states, including Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Pennsylvania, where Rick's from. Which you may notice that Georgia and Arizona, those states, are all the states that are going to determine the United States Senate. And in Georgia, we have the race between Reverend Senator Warnock, who's in the film, and Herschel Walker. And the winner of that is going to tell you who runs America. It's going to be Joe Biden or Mitch McConnell. And the thing is, they do not trust the people of Georgia or the people of Arizona or Pennsylvania to make this decision. So they're using these vigilantes, these Republican operatives. And I'm not being partisan about this, Santita. Every single vigilante vote challenger in Georgia, there were 88 of them so far, every single one is a GOP operative. Some of them, like that guy with the vigilante, he's actually chairman of the party, of the Republican Party in Columbus.
Wait. Hold on, because I want people to understand that you're dealing with power, not partisanship. I mean, because partisanship is one thing. Power is something else. Power transcends all of that. And in fact, I think you illustrated that very powerfully last night when you historically took us through where Democrats were at one time, where the Republicans were at one time, where the Republicans are now, where the Democrats, you know, I mean, and then you have some Democrats who do not fight as fully as they should to ensure that we all have access to the right to vote. You know, I mean, it's power.
Yeah. Well, we have to fight for our right to vote. And you will see in this film, look, they're going after, there have been, are you ready? Over 250,000 challenges in Georgia. And
wait. How does challenging a vote, how does that work? What does that mean?
What it works, okay, well, I even show one of these challenge sheets on the screen. This woman who challenged 32,000 people. They fill out a form saying, I know that this is not a legal voter. Okay, so, and they can do this, by the way, here's the dangerous thing. They can do it on election day. They're expected to do it on election day. And I believe this voter is not, I have information this voter is not a legit voter. Now, if they really did have, if you really know someone's not a legit voter, hey, they shouldn't vote. But Georgia, despite 500,000 people removed from the voter rolls by Governor Brian Kemp when he was running for office, despite arresting at least 24 black people, he arrests people. He uses the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Despite all this stuff and his accusations and his demands that they arrest NCUFO of the New Georgia Project, he actually wanted Reverend Warnock arrested, by the way, just so you know, his senator. And but he's had no evidence, no conviction in his. He's been in office 12 years as running the election, Secretary of State or Governor. Not one single conviction of any voter in Georgia voting illegally. Not one. And yet he's going after, and you know and I know, it didn't take me very long. We called 800 of the people targeted by this one woman. 800. Almost everyone was black or a student. We saw this in Wisconsin, where I was working at Black Voters Matter, and we analyzed the purge list there. So that's what they do. They claim someone. Now, what they did is they'll take simple things like, they'll go through they'll take all these soldiers. They say, they put in change of address forms. So they don't live in Georgia. They're like the major who's in California at Fort Wayne. And they will say, they don't live in Georgia. No. They are soldiers. They're defending your behind, sir, madam. And they were assigned to another base. They don't fail to become American citizens. They don't fail to become Georgians just because they were assigned somewhere else. Or we had one woman who, because of COVID, was evicted. She lost her home in Georgia, moved in with her relatives for a few weeks in Florida, then came back and got another place in Georgia, in Atlanta. And they still challenged her vote just because she had put in a temporary change of address form. These are the games they're playing, but they're targeting black people and young people. Why? Because they're voters of color, and the color is blue. Now, as you say, we bring out the fact that we bring a historian in. By the way, it's the only white guy in front of a bookcase, I guess, besides me. That's one thing I want to tell people. This is not PBS. It's not good for you. You know, a bunch of white guys in front of bookcases telling you blah, blah, blah.
Now, you leave PBS alone now. I love PBS. And I love Alistair Cook.
Fine, but the thing is,
I'm not going to front. I love all of that.
But I got to tell you, you're going to follow an investigative reporter, me. If you know Greg Palace, I won't run around in my fedora. I always have, even when I was an investigator before I was on TV. I always wore a raincoat and a fedora like Columbo. It's convenient. And I go after bad guys.
I got 20 seconds.
I hunt these people down. Yeah. So I want you to go tonight to see a good film, a film that will blow you away and will inform you in Minneapolis at the Crooners Supper Club, 6:30 p.m. I'd make that reservation by going to, 850?
AM 950 radio.
950.
AM 950 radio. Oh, no, just stay right there. We're going to be talking about that, CK. I mean, CK told me, she said, girl, this is great. It's also disturbing. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Oh, Robert and Daryl.
Yes, ma'am.
We're coming to you. We're coming to you, CK.
Yes, Santita.
You got it, girl.
This is we really needed to hear, and I'm so excited that Greg did lay it out the way that he did, because the other part of it, since we're talking about legal Q&A, is litigation, and there is a nexus. You know, Greg, based on his reporting, based on his evidence that he discovered, we did file litigation where Rainbow Push was a party, Black Voters Matter Fund was a party, Transformative Justice Coalition was a party, where we sued because we believed, we knew that close to 200,000 Georgians were illegally stricken from the rolls. So there is a correlation between the investigative journalism, the evidence that's uncovered of fraud, of deceit, of impropriety, of illegality, and the election. So it's all connected. And so it's important, I think, for us to really, really understand the origins in Georgia, because it's going everywhere. It's viral. You know, Georgia, Greg has developed all of this evidence in Georgia, but I'm certain that it's happening all over, and I feel pretty confident that he can develop the evidence in other states too. I don't know this, Greg, but I feel pretty confident about that.
Well, you know, I mean, it just seems, you know, this is a lot. I mean, and you know, please underscore that this is happening in the Midwest. It's happening all over the country, Greg and Rick. You know, I mean, it's everywhere.
Let me just add something quick. This is Craig. In a couple of hours, I'm having a Zoom call with the Hollywood people to finalize their approval to have a national virtual showing of the film. And that was requested because Latasha Brown, you know, Black Voters Matter, you all know her, has asked if that could be done. So it looks like we're going to get approval to do that. You know, I need the Hollywood people to approve this.
Yes.
We will have, by the way, showings in San Francisco next Wednesday on the 19th, and then the Hollywood preview on the 26th, and then we'll do the national. Then we will do a national virtual broadcast, and so that's what we're going to. I'll just get that final approval in a couple of hours. So stand by for that. That's because it's just ridiculous that it's so limited right now for contractual reasons. So I'm just. You know, I'm working on these people explain that this is life and death for the United States right now.
We got about 90 seconds.
Black voters, young voters.
Well, you know, but I think that
take away.
But you know, but I have to say that, to interrupt, I think, you know, and I'm sure you'll get to Daryl Jones and Robert Patillo, CK, on the other side of the break. I think this has currency past the midterms.
Oh, it does.
Past 2024. Yeah. We should be doing this all the time and having what we did last night, talking to people, because what was exciting, CK, was seeing the enthusiasm here. And everybody walked away saying, everybody's got to see this. That's what was exciting to me, too.
Tremendous feeling last night.
Oh, tremendous feeling. Tremendous. And my father's already called me this morning. He wants to know how it went. So I'm going to connect you all, Greg.
Yes, please.
Okay, I am. He goes to therapy, and he's got a very rigorous program. And when he doesn't eat sugar, he does well, everybody. But Lorraine, for your mother who has Parkinson's, take the sugar out of her diet, because that will, I mean, that really undid him yesterday. Can't have it. Can't.
Back in 10.
So stand by. But he's doing very, very well. He is able to walk. And when you hear him, when he speaks, you can absolutely understand him. It's great. It's like going back like 5 or 10 years. Stand by.
Change the world, change the world. Yes, we can change the world. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey everybody, it's Wednesday, so you know it's Legal Q&A with CK on the Santita Jackson Show. Of course, I want you all to get out to WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station at AM 950 radio. That's my home, but it's also Rick Smith's home. I want you to listen to his show every weeknight from 8 to 10. He's a great host, and he's a great guy. He's my working class hero. You got to get his T-shirt too. Got to get it. You got to get it. And so we've got attorney Robert Patillo, attorney Daryl Jones, who's been on his Whistle Stop tour with attorney Arnwine, and CK, and of course we've got the great Greg Palast here. But we haven't heard from attorney Patillo, and we have not heard from attorney Jones. But wow, CK, this is just a lot, and I hope that we show this over and over and over again.
No, absolutely, Santita. The one thing that's so remarkable about this show is that it's relevant today. Mm-hmm. And so I'd love to hear what Robert Patillo has to say. He's there in Georgia. He's in the field, Rainbow Push, and is a phenomenal lawyer. So I'd love to hear what he has to say about all of these issues and really the gubernatorial race. We have a very, very tough gubernatorial race in Georgia.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much, CK. I want people to remember that if you look at the demographics of the state of Georgia and compare that to normal voting trends, these races should not be close. The thing that makes races close in Georgia, what makes Georgia even so much as a light blue or purple state, is the history of voter suppression in the state. Mos Def had a song where he said, you start keeping pace, they start switching up the tempo. And what we've seen over the course of the last 25 years, since about 1997, is that every time Democrats make progress, every time African-American voters start making progress, the state legislature passes a new voter suppression law, reducing the number of forms of identification that are available, finding new schemes that are updated with the times. They may not update school books in this state, but they will update the voter suppression laws to ensure that the will of the people is not executed. And for anyone who has a question about it, just remember, after the 2006 voter suppression law was struck down as a poll tax and then had to be reformulated and put into place, you did not have another black person elected to the statewide elected office for over a decade. So for the people who think that, or who make this argument that is quote unquote voter protection, the question is from what? They're protecting the voters from democracy. They're protecting the voters from the franchise. They're protecting the voters from the ability to have self-determination and all their constitutional rights in order to ensure that the people who are in power at the top maintain that power. The ability to challenge electors on election day. At no point in time has that ever been part of the Georgia Constitution. They did it in SB 202. The fact that they took power away from local jurisdictions, and they're not using that, take the removal of the power of local boards of elections to oversee elections, investing that with the state. They're not doing that in Republican districts, though that was specifically put into the legislature so that they could take over the Fulton County Elections Board, so they could take over the DeKalb County and the Gwinnett County Election Board and replace the oversight of that with somebody appointed by the legislature, which is majority Republican. We have to understand that our democracy risks falling into the types of silly cartoon banana republic democracies that we see in other countries. The same way we talk about the sham referendums that Russia put into place in Ukraine to annex the Donbass and Luhansk regions. How is that different than the sham election Georgia tries to run, where they disenfranchise voters and they push and they push democracy to the background in order for themselves to win. And if we don't fight back, we have to think of ourselves in the civil rights communities as the last guardians of justice, the last centurions against the oppressive regimes of people like Kemp, people like the Stop the Steal folks who want to ensure that whether they win or not, that they maintain power. So the power of this documentary or this movie that Greg has put together, the litigation CK has spearheaded, is us fighting back in every nonviolent way we can to ensure that we have the opportunity to have free and fair elections. Because what these Republicans do not want is for the voice of the people to be reflected. They have not won a popular vote, or they won one popular vote in the country in a presidential election since 1988. That was in 2004. Their 50 senators represent 41 million fewer people than the 50 Democratic senators. I think there's something like a 20 million gap in the House of Representatives in popular vote. If it was just a one-to-one situation where they cannot play with the rules and deal around the edges, they could not win an election. Indeed, we think of America as a 50-50 split red versus blue country. No, it's only because there's a finger on the scale that makes this a 50-50 nation where we're clawing and fighting every time. If we could have free and fair elections, we would not be in a situation where we're fighting back against these MAGA extremists around the country. So it's crucially important that we register people, that we fight back against the tides of oppression, and that we understand we are the people who have to fight back. There ain't no such thing as Superman, as Gil Scott Heron said. We have to be the ones to defend our own democracy.
CK, girl, this man is crazy. But I mean, we've seen Barbara Arnwine, Attorney Arnwine, and Attorney Jones on this Whistle Stop tour. It's
absolutely,
and people are excited. CK.
People are excited. And let me just say something about Daryl Jones and Barbara Arnwine. What they have done for voting rights and what they are doing now is nothing short of just amazing. They've picked up the mantle. They have re-energized people to understand the significance and the importance of voting. And I cannot thank them enough for what they do. One of the legal challenges of litigation that we filed, Transformative Justice Coalition was one of the parties. And so it was really extraordinary to work with them in litigation as well. So Daryl has a lot to say, and we want to hear from him. And thank you in advance, Daryl, for all that you are doing at Transformative Justice Coalition.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, CK. And we appreciate all the support that we're getting around the country as we take this National Arc of Voter Justice tour all around. Right now, we're headed into Toledo, Ohio, where we're going to be meeting at Warren AME Church, and we'll have a voter key that will go through some of the lower performing areas to encourage folks, and particularly Black and brown voters, to come out and to vote and let them know it's voting season, that this is the time. We'll leave Toledo today. We'll be in Pittsburgh today, because Pennsylvania, as Greg Palast was identifying, is one of the states that's really challenged. One of the things that Greg Palast laid out that was really clear, and people need to completely appreciate this, is that voters are the victims of these actions that are occurring across the country with regards to voting suppression. But equally important is that we know that voters are also the champions, because we've got to be voting rights champions and be certain that we encourage each other to get out there and exercise that right to vote. Let me tell you, when we talk about all the things that are happening in Georgia and around many of the states in our country regarding voter suppression, we also have to remember this, right? Because it's not just about the local boards of election that are being taken over by general assemblies to determine outcomes of elections. It's not just about the food and water that's being suppressed with regards to people that are waiting in long lines that have been created because many of the legislatures, many of the board of elections have closed polling places to intentionally create these long lines in Black and brown communities. It's not even just about the drop boxes across the country where they've limited the hours of availability that voters can actually access to drop the drop boxes to be able to cast their ballots 24 hours. They're limiting that to just working hours, which goes against the concept of why the drop boxes are there in the first place. But what we also know now, what we have uncovered, and Greg Powell can certainly speak to this, is that we now know that there are disruptors that are being trained across this country to get involved with black and brown polling areas to make it more difficult for black and brown voters to be able to vote. We also know that we have professionals like Cleta Mitchell, who is an attorney, who's training poll workers, to be able to interfere and challenge people at the polls, workers at the polls that are challenging black and brown voters and their ability to vote. You know, one of the places we're just leaving is the state of Michigan. In Michigan, and this is an example of the poll workers creating the problem. These are the paid poll workers that are trained creating the problems. In Michigan, in Kent County, there's a Republican poll worker who has been charged with tampering with the election computer equipment during the primary election. So we know that this person was trained by Cleta Mitchell, was trained by these professionals that are out there to disrupt and sow seeds of distrust in our election system. So what we've got to do is that we've got to come out in numbers and be certain that our people are out there voting, that the black, brown, and young community are all out there voting and pushing and having each other's back. And we also encourage, Santita, for people to take advantage of early voting. Because if you can get the early voting in, there's less of a chance that you'll run into these disruptors, less of a chance that your vote won't be counted. If you run into problems at the voting place, if you run into problems when you're trying to exercise that vote, we encourage people to call 866-OUR-VOTE, 866-OUR-VOTE. And before you go to the polling place, before you do anything else, go online and check with vote.org. Vote.org. Be certain that you're registered to vote. Know your polling place. All of that is available to you. It's important that we use our weapon of the vote to be certain that we are able to have representatives in Congress, judges, prosecutors, and all down the ballot that are representing our community's interests. So we encourage everyone to be vigilant and go after that vote. And we also encourage you to be vigilant and going to see Greg Pallas's movie Vigilant, because we know it's all based on stuff that's going on across this country, Santita.
Amen. CK, you know, we got a surprise. That's right. Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor. Now, she and Greg are going to have a viewing. Rick, are you going to participate in that too?
I absolutely am. Looking forward to it tonight at the Crooner Supper Club with Greg Palast, me, and our friends at AM 950. Looking forward to it.
All right. Okay, Lena, Greg, you're planning something with Lena Taylor later on in October, right?
Absolutely. We're going to get to Milwaukee, where these voter vigilantes are in full swing. In fact, they're back. We talked about this woman, Cleta Mitchell. She's the director of a Milwaukee operation called the Brown Foundation. They're the new Koch brothers, funding all this right-wing attacks on voters. And they're going, not only they funded this whole operation in Georgia, but they are also going after voters in Wisconsin. I did a study there for Black Voters Matter. And this is a new game. Be prepared, by the way, in Wisconsin, you have same-day registration. Barbara Arnwine taught me this. Thank you, Barb. And they have same-day voter registration. So bring all your ID. So if you get some goofy guy in a cowboy hat who challenges your right to vote, you can literally re-register right there on the spot. Or if they say you've been purged, they use a system called ERIC. It's this horrendous Jim Crow game that they play in Wisconsin. Just go to the polls. Bring every piece of ID you've ever had in your life, including your junior high school report card, and re-register on the spot.
Bills that go to your house.
So I'm telling
anything.
you, right? And stay tuned, because we might actually be able to have a public virtual showing nationwide of Vigilante, Georgia's vote suppression hitman. And I really appreciate that you guys had a great reaction to the film. But even more important, that you understand it is a weapon. It's an entertaining weapon, but it's a weapon to protect yourself from these vigilantes who are they're goofy, but they're vicious. They're dangerous to our democracy and to you Again, it's not a question whether they're stealing votes with Stacey Abrams or Reverend Warnock or Mandela Barnes. It is that they're taking away your American rights. Don't let them do it. Watch the film, and Dexter will be there in Milwaukee.
Well, Lena, it's perfect. He led right up to you. We saw it last night. We are fired up. When are you going to have your viewing? And what is going on with Mandela Barnes? And Lena.
The viewing is going to be at the Wisconsin African American Women's Center, and it's going to be after community brainstorming. And it will be at noon, and we'll have maybe some light lunch available for everyone. And I think the most important part of the date is October the 22nd. I'm sorry, October the 22nd. And so we'd love for individuals to go to lenataylor.org. If you have any other questions, you can contact us, and we'd be happy to host you. We'll also have a little radio show kind of taping afterwards with some specific interviews that Rick is going to do. And you asked about one of those races that's really close, that will matter on whether or not we get control nationally. Mandela Barnes, it's tight. People are not inspired because voter suppression does that to individuals. So we need the energy of the film and the reminder of Ezekiel Gillespie, who in 1865 fought for the right to vote in Wisconsin. He didn't have a Mandela Barnes on the ticket or an Obama. I'm certain that things weren't the best for people of color, but he was fighting for his right to vote. It was his constitutional right. And he sued all the way to the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin for his right. And so if you don't do it for nothing, do it because Ezekiel fought, but do it for you. And that's what we've got to inspire people here to get out and do that. It's a 1% space between Mandela and Ron Johnson, who has voted in ways, who has stated things about January 6th in ways that should scare people, actually.
But you know what? You and CK, I don't know what it is. What's going on around here? These races are tighter than this, Senator Taylor. Mandela Barnes, and it's closed up.
There's no difference.
What's going on? Warnock and Walker. What's up? What do you see?
Down on the ground, people are working multiple jobs. People are not inspired to really think about these races. I'm just going to be candid with you. That's what I'm seeing on the ground. And so having the vice president come, having the first lady come, those are things that will hopefully continue to inspire people about their right to vote. What I see is that we have to continue to show what these races mean. And here they don't feel it because of voter suppression. They don't feel it in the way that, Daryl, you should speak about the rally that you all had. It wasn't overflowing.
Daryl Jones.
Talk about what we have going on. So we need everybody to touch Milwaukee if you can, because that Mandela Barnes race can matter. He's at 1%, and we need individuals to be inspired to get out, and we're at the last minute trying to make that happen.
And thank you, Senator Taylor. You're absolutely right. On Sunday, the Arc of Voter Justice Tour was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And let me tell you, what we experienced with regards to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as we were going through the streets of Milwaukee, we had 4 or 5 buses of folks that were coming with the Black Voters Matter and TJC and NNPA and Rainbow Push. We had 6 blocks of vehicles with placards. We had people that were coming out from their homes to see what was going on as we went through the Black and brown communities. The whole concept here was to bring awareness and excitement to the fact that it's election season. You know, we once we got to our celebration village, the celebration village was not overflowing with people, but the people that we saw on the streets as we were going through Milwaukee, those are the people that we've got to reach. And, you know, and Senator Taylor will tell you, I heard one of her assistants was there, Solana. One of the great things about this was that there was incredible press coverage to bring that information into the homes of many of the Black and brown members of the community to try to be certain that they're knowledgeable and know what's happening and that it's time to get out and vote. That's what the whole message has got to be, and that's what we've got to continue to drive home.
CK, I've got about 3 minutes left here, and we want Greg and Rick to get everybody out in Minneapolis, St. Paul's. CK, you know, about 30, 40 seconds for you before you pitch it back to them. What are we looking at, CK?
I'm going to take 10 seconds because it's too important to hear what they have to say. People have to understand voter suppression is alive and well, and it's in your backyard. Please pay attention. Please watch Vigilante. Please check your voting status. And please know there will be election protection lawyers at the polls. Barbara Arnwine, the mother of election protection, created this system years ago. Election protection lawyers there. When there are irregularities, look for the election protection lawyers that will be there at the polls.
Well, Rick Smith, 1 minute goes to you. You're going to be in Minneapolis tonight. Where will you be? And why is it important that people get out and get there? I mean, they came in the rain last night.
We are in Minneapolis. We are ready to get this on. We're ready to excite, energize, and engage with people to get them motivated to get out and vote, to make sure that they are registered, make sure that they've got a plan to vote, and that they actually get out and vote. And if this film does one thing for me, it makes me even more militant in my passion for voting, because the more they want to take it away, the more I want to make sure that everyone gets to get out and vote and exercise their rights. You know, one of the things that they always told me is, well, if it was that important, they wouldn't let you do it. Well, I look at how hard they're working to take this vote away. It's important, and we have this moment. We have to take it back, and we have to keep it.
Greg Palast, last couple minutes belong to you.
Okay, well, last night, people said what they said in Atlanta, Georgia, when we had the film there, which is that everyone ought to see this film, and we got to get it out. And what we will, so I want people, if you get a hold of Santita, get a hold of me at gregpalast.com. And we remember the October 22nd showing in Milwaukee, and it's obviously Minneapolis tonight. Be there. It's already packing up, so please make your reservation. And that's 9:50 a.m.
AM 950 radio. That's right.
AM950radio.com, AM950radio.com if you're in Minneapolis. But what I want people to do is go to gregpalast.com and we'll get your name. And if you want to show it in your church, in your community group, in your massage circle, I guess it's for California, anywhere that you want to show this film, we will help you. We'll send you discs, files, whatever you need to get this film shown and help you get this publicized. This is a community effort. You're not going to get the commercial TV stations to run this. They are afraid of the issue of what we politely call vote suppression, but it's really shafting Black people out of their vote. We're uncomfortable with that in America, so we have to get it out ourselves. So get a hold of me, and we will send you links. We'll send you the film Vigilante to show, and we are arranging for that virtual event with Black Voters Matter Fund and Rainbow Push.
Well, amen to that. And you know what? If we put it out ourselves, it belongs to ourselves. We don't need anybody else to do this for us. We've seen in Atlanta. We've seen in Chicago. We're going to see in Minneapolis, St. Paul tonight. We're going to see in Milwaukee, Lena, that when, you know, nobody's going to save us for us but us. I got that from Reverend Jesse Jackson. It is true. We are the ones who are going to save us. That's the beauty and the genius of the American idea and ideal. This system was designed for you to work it so that it can work for you. So now, come on, everybody. Let us get out. Go to gregpalast.com so that you can find out where they're going to be tonight in Minneapolis. Also, you want to look, I'll say it because Greg will not. This is not free. Please contribute, make a donation, because all of this tour costs, and we need to pay for our own freedom, CK. Reverend Jesse Jackson has often said, you can't ride to freedom on Pharaoh's chariot. And that's the truth. If you gotta walk. What? You know he's gonna come up with some stuff. So everybody tonight, am950radio.com. I love you, Chad Larson, and everybody up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, sending you much love, my working class hero, Rick Smith. And of course, the brilliant Greg Palast, who puts his life in his own hands, CK. That woman was about to clock him upside his head.
And I have to tell you,
I got 10 seconds.
When you see it in the movie, you understand how the brilliance and the sacrifice that Greg has made.
Yeah.
So we need to encourage
and
do all that we can to ensure that this gets out.
And now he puts himself in harm's way because these people, power protects itself. They're holding on to it. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Love you, everybody. Keep talking, everybody. Rick?
Santita, I have got to run.
Okay, what do you want to say before you go?
Magnificent. Well, to Greg, to Rick, Santita, to you, to Daryl, to Robert, and to all the
and to Senator Taylor.
And to Senator Taylor. Oh, thank you so much, Senator Taylor, for joining. This is really an important time in our history, and we need to recognize it, take it, and keep fighting. Each of us has a different role we can play. Some of us are there in the field, others in the court, others spreading the word on radio, others freedom fighters like Reverend Jesse Jackson, who showed us the path, who told us how to do it, and who's passing on the baton every day so that he can continue to have his voice heard and to give us direction on how we need to do this. But we need to do it because there's too much at stake.
Well, there is a lot at stake, and Robert Patillo, what do you want to say before we all go?
I want to remind everybody to register for the Rainbow Push Coalition Street Project Creating Opportunity Conference next week, October 19th through the 21st. We'll have sessions on women's issues. We'll have sessions on voting rights, criminal justice reform, black farmers, technology, youth roundtable. You can find the entire agenda of events at rainbowpush.org. Completely free, completely virtual. We encourage you to register and to pass the word on.
And we need your support too, because none of this stuff costs us, but we're trying to serve you. And we're going to continue to do that. And sometimes you don't have money, Daryl, but we have you. We're volunteer driven organization. So please get involved. Help us help you. Help us help you. Help America and the world. Daryl Jones, your closing thoughts.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Santita. And you're absolutely right. Everybody can do something. It doesn't cost to come out and volunteer and to help. Folks, please get into the streets and help save democracy. Help us push people out to come out and vote. If you're in Toledo, Ohio today, come on out to Warren AME Church of Toledo, Ohio. If you know someone that's in Toledo, Ohio, tell them to go on out and join this National Vote of Arc Justice Tour. Let me tell you, Black Voters Matter, along with the Hip Hop Caucus, are all going to be joining us on this tour. We'll be in Toledo today, we'll be in Cleveland today, and we're going to close out today in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So, please join us. You can go to votingrightsalliance.org, votingrightsalliance.org, and you'll see our complete schedule of where the National Voters Arc of Justice Tour is going to be all the way up until we end in Jacksonville, Florida on October the 21st. So please, come join us.
Greg Palast, I have to, before I get to you, Greg, Senator Taylor, I want you to come back tomorrow to talk really about the Mandela Barnes race. It's just, we've been talking about Raphael Warnock, and we should, but this race is right up the street from us here, Rick. It's right up the street. He is close to being senator. Is there anything else that you think that the Democrats can do the party. I mean, would it be helpful to have President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama come through and Vice President Harris? What else can we do? What else can be done? Oh, Senator Taylor, are you there? Well, okay. Well, I'm going to get back. I'll get her tomorrow. But with Greg Palast, we've got a full plate,
Okay.
and I'm seeing this through 2024 and beyond.
Yes,
because this will get you fired up to vote.
Yes, well, that's why I'm having a little trouble with my Hollywood people, because they wanted it to be the film that will affect 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to say something which I can't say on the air, but I'll consider.
But we're on
this a
Facebook
closed
Live.
group.
We're on Facebook Live.
I know we're on
Okay.
Facebook Live, but don't tell me that. I don't know that.
Okay.
I'll pretend
Oh.
I don't know that.
Okay.
Okay, Barbara and Daryl and Senator Taylor, she may not be able to hear us, but go to. This is a little secret. I'm going to tell only the several thousand people listening here, but to our good team, go to vigilantemovie.com. Vigilantemovie.com. That's a preview link to see the film for those who are planning to show the film or comment on it. So Daryl and Barbara, I don't know. Barbara's not on right now. Barbara, are you on? I don't know.
No, she's not. But Daryl. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Daryl, to pass this on to Barbara as well, and I'll send you some emails today. Vigilantemovie.com. We are allowed to do private screenings, that is, in your churches, in your community groups, wherever you're traveling. Rick Smith is taking around this film. Let's include it in the Transformative Justice Coalition action. So you have something good and entertaining. It's only an hour and 10 minutes. But it is, it's a punch in the face, but it also makes you laugh at the same time. And we can get it out to all the community groups as you're going around. Vigilantemovie.com. No dots or anything between Vigilante and movie. Vigilantemovie.com.
Well, blessings to you. I think this is great. Rick Smith, you want to say anything before you go? Hope you get some rest today.
Yeah,
Rick.
a punch in the face that makes you laugh. That's a new one on me. If anything's just a punch in the face that makes me want to go and, well.
He doesn't look like anyone can punch him in his face, just so that you all know. I want him on my team.
You want to get punched back.
And this is what this movie makes me think about. I mean, the fact that someone's trying to steal your vote, this should make you angry. This should make you more passionate about ensuring that your rights are protected and that you're able to cast your ballot. So for me, this is an energizing thing. This should be something that fires people up and motivates them to get out and make sure that they're registered, make sure they got a plan to vote, and they actually exercise that plan.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's been a joy working with you, Rick. I can't wait to have you on the show so we can talk about so many things. We've got to talk about the issues that we need to vote about in the next 3.5-4 weeks. I mean,
absolutely,
the midterms are here, and I think that there's some real issues that I think we need to drill down on for people who might not feel really inspired to vote, and some people don't, and I get it. And I don't want to diminish their feelings and their thoughts and their lived experiences. That having been said, we do need you to vote. And maybe, just maybe, if we can share some of the issues with you that you will be voting about, I think it will make you vote. That's a very, very important thing. But I'm sending you much love. Rick, get some rest today. I don't know how he did it, but this is the 24-hour man. He is not getting any rest. You got to get some rest so you can have some fun tonight. And Matt Sowell will be up there. I love you, Matt. He's one of our faithful morning stars. He says he's going to be there tonight because he lives up there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So sending you much love. Everybody,
Wonderful. I'll see you up in Minneapolis, Rick.
And I think I'll see you in Milwaukee.
Crooner Supper Club.
Okay. No, what is it again now?
And don't forget, Vigilante Movie. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Greg. You got it down. Go.
Okay, vigilantemovie.com if you're not going to make it to Minneapolis or Milwaukee showings, and that's vigilantemovie.com. But the other is to get to Minneapolis at the Crooners Supper Club on Highway 65 Northeast. Highway 65 Northeast. GregPalace.com has all the details. I recommend that you, because it's almost completely packed out.
Good.
I recommend you make the reservation.
Good. And you know what? Look, just go. Yeah, I said it. Just go. Yeah. Go.
I'll get you in. Get you in.
Go. Even if you miss this deadline, just go. People need to see and feel each other there. It's energizing to see a packed room. I mean, that's what we had last night. It was energizing when people looked around the room and saw so many other people who were interested in the same thing. It pushes the conversation, everybody. So go on, just go. Go. They want to feed you a little bit, so that's why they need to get some numbers, but you just need to go. You need to go. Just go. So I'm sending you much love. Please be safe up there. And Rick, again, get some rest today. Please.
Will do. Thanks, Santita.
Well, I'm going to connect the two of you. He's going to be out of therapy in a few hours. So once he does that, I'm going to connect you all by phone. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Because he was very eager. He wanted to get your impressions. I said, well, we're going to be going on the air. So you can't really talk to him right now. So we're going to do that. Okay.
Fantastic.
Sending you much love.
Standing by.
Going to call. All righty. God bless. Much love, everybody. Bye. See you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Bye-bye. And see you in Minneapolis.